A very good afternoon and a warm welcome to everyone. Today we are here live on Dwarka Mom's platform, and we have Mr. Vineet Gupta, co-founder of Jamuri Education with us. He's also the co-founder and trustee of Ashoka University and Palash University. A very warm welcome, sir, and it's an honor to have you with us today and helping us guide our kids for future education. In today's tough time, we need that support and we need that knowledge to, nurture our kids for their future. A very warm welcome, sir.
Thank you, Kajal. Pleasure to be here.
Sir, can we know a little more about you, your ventures, the university, and then we take forward with the presentation of yours, and then we'll be dealing with queries from the moms who'll be joining us with kids.
So I grew up in Chandigarh. That's where I went to school, and then I came to study in college in Delhi. I went to IIT Delhi. I graduated in the early 90s, and after that I became an entrepreneur. The company I run is Jamuri Education. Jamuri is one of India's largest test prep companies. We coach students on GMAT, GRE, SAT, IELTS, TOEFL. We counsel students on admissions abroad. And then, while that's the for-profit company I run, my passion also has been in higher education. In 2006-07, I got involved with setting up Ashoka University. I'm sure some of you heard of it. Ashoka has now sort of emerged as a premier liberal arts university in India, focusing on the humanities, social sciences, and pure sciences. And I was very deeply involved and continue to be very involved in setting it up. I'm now also leading an effort to set up a science and technology university in India that is called Plaksha, as Kajal mentioned. This university is coming up in Chandigarh and is set to open next year. So that's a little bit introduction about me. A large part of my career has been with students, especially students of grades 9, 10, 11, 12, helping them figure out what sort of careers they should be in, what disciplines to choose, what are the sort of colleges they should be picking. And equally then at Ashoka and Plaksha, I've also been involved on the other side on, what is the future of higher education? What are the disciplines that are most contemporary and relevant? So, in some sense, I've watched the story on both sides on what's happening with school students and what's happening with college education. So I'm happy to be here and thank you for inviting me.
Sir, to know a little more, what is the right age to, start counseling our kids for higher education, basically? Or what is the right standard? When do we, actually start intervening? What is the right path for our kids to choose? Is it in the 10th standard, 11th or 12th, or from starting itself? I mean, what according to you
I would think pretty much starting end of 9th, early 10th. Definitely by 10th, you should start counseling, because 11th sometimes gets a little late. And especially in India, because, students have to choose their subjects in 11th. So if they have to choose their subjects in 11th, then getting some idea of what the future should be is good to, actually, I think sometimes even in 9th, 9th and 10th, some preliminary conversations in 9th, but I mean, definitely 10th. And if for some reason you've not been able to do it in 10th, then...
Any scientific reason or any specific reason to do so? Like why 9th and 10th?
I think because high school, that's the time when you enter high school. And in high school, you start to have preference towards individual disciplines. And sometimes students don't even get to develop that preference, and that's fine too. But in 9th, 10th, getting an early understanding of what are your inclinations. Are you inclined towards physics? Are you inclined towards humanities? Do you have an interest in both? And then what should your planning be? Are you inclined towards economics, business? So I think getting some idea could be helpful. So that's one reason why you should start early. I think the second is that the world over, unlike India, the world over admissions are very holistic, which means admissions are dependent not only on your school marks and school grades, but they are dependent on a combination of school marks, standardized tests, extracurricular activities, other interests. And usually these extracurricular activities and other interests are measured over a period of 4 years. 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, whatever you've done in these 4 years counts. So that's why it's better to start early in 9th, 10th.
Great. Yes, sir. So, are we starting with the presentation, sir?
Yeah, we can. Should I? So, Kajal, do you want me to go ahead? I'll take about 20 minutes of presentation time.
Yes, sir. Yes, we can go ahead.
So, Jamboree, the organization I represent, we coach students on SAT, ACT. We also specialize in university admissions counseling. We have been there since 1993. We run 39 centers in 22 cities and in 4 countries. In this whole space of education abroad, we've probably been the oldest organization. Let me start. I'm assuming most of the audience are parents of students in 10th, 11th, 12th, or they are students themselves. Sometimes, a good question to ask is what determines professional success? I believe there are 3 things that count towards your success in life. The first is knowledge, right? It could be disciplinary knowledge of economics, of maths, of history, of English. And that's what all of our school education is about. Not only school education, even in college education, we go to school and at every time we are trying to acquire more knowledge. The second thing that determines your success is skills, right? Skills like reading, writing, right? Which are part again of the school curriculum. Schools develop reading, writing very strongly. Analytical ability, what is your comfort with math? How can you add, subtract, multiply, the whole arithmetic, mathematical thinking space. Then there are skills of communication, right? How can you communicate both verbally and in writing? Critical thinking means really if you have 6 concepts, how do you connect the dots between different concepts, right? Problem solving, your ability to get things done. These are all skills which are extremely important for success in life. And your school education, as you are gaining disciplinary knowledge, you also develop skills. Skills can sometimes be developed even outside. So I encourage students that please do develop your reading and writing ability, either through the school curriculum or outside. In middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, analytical ability, reading and writing, these are fundamental to success. Disciplinary knowledge is important, but disciplinary knowledge you can acquire if you have good analytical ability, good reading ability, good writing ability, right? Then the last thing is attitude. You have knowledge, you have skills, and then you have attitude. What comprises attitude? Your ability to take initiative, your humility, the understanding that you want to learn more, rigor, how hardworking are you, grit, right? Can you rise up from failure, determination, integrity? And these attitudes are key determinants to success. I often say that your attitude determines your altitude in life, pretty much. And sometimes with the right attitude, you can cover up for knowledge, you can cover up for skills. Now, the school curriculum often does not directly train you on attitude, right? Nobody tells you how do you develop grit. Nobody tells you how do you get more determined. Nobody tells you how do you rise from failure. Uh, College education doesn't do that either. How does attitude get developed? Attitude gets developed in your families. It gets developed through sports, through extracurricular activities. But now there is curriculum coming into the school, into college education, which also works on developing students' attitude. And why do I bring it up here? I bring it up here because all of you as parents should be extremely conscious of this, right? While your children are doing well in study, which is developing disciplinary knowledge, and they are gaining skills, reading, writing, you should also make sure they are developing the right attitude traits. And believe me, this is something that can be worked on. This is something that can be developed. Encourage them to be part of sports, encourage them to be part of extracurricular activities. Let them learn from failure. Make them be involved in community work. Community work, really working for people beyond yourself, helps develop the right attitude. So knowledge, skills, and attitude is something that every child should work on, not just knowledge alone, not just disciplinary knowledge alone, but pretty much the combination of all these three. Let me shift gears a little bit. What are some of the careers of the 21st century that are highly in demand or where students can have success? Well, there are careers related to computer science, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data sciences, right? Data sciences is the sort of platform on which machine learning and AI build, right? Analyzing large sets of data to train machines, to understand. And I was giving Kajal an example just before this webinar started. The COVID epidemic is playing out, and there is this whole debate going on about the virus. But equally, there is a debate going out about, what does the data say? How does the curve look? Is the curve flattening, right? So data science has become fundamental to pretty much every discipline. Careers in other digital technologies, the Internet of Things, robotics, cloud computing. So these are, if your children have an interest in math and physics early on, and they are keen on computing, they like programming, they have a comfort with math and data. I mean, you are not going wrong with these careers at all. But these are not the only careers of the 21st century. Any careers related to sustainability, energy studies, right? What are the new forms of energy, right? Oil and gas are likely to fade away in a couple of decades. And what are the new sources of energy going to be? How do you make the planet more sustainable? Marketing, traditional forms of marketing are over. And most of the marketing today happens over the internet, which requires an understanding of the digital world. How do you communicate? What sort of messages do you put, right? A lot of careers associated with writing and communication, right? I can tell you as a professional, there is a dearth of professionals who can write well and communicate well. If your children can do that, they have a great future. There is great future in the humanities, but humanities today coupled with the digital edge, which means you understand digital platforms to showcase whether you have an interest in history or in philosophy. How can you use the digital? How can you get the digital edge to your work? Again, great careers in biology and biosciences. I think for the 21st century, biology is going to be like what physics was to the 20th century. A lot of innovation is going to come out. A lot of new discoveries will happen, and bio is going to be pretty much center stage. But bio today has to be combined with math. Bio alone will have limitation. So if your children are taking up biology, encourage them to take math. great options in legal studies, law, legal studies, absolutely a great profession. International relations, diplomacy. We've seen what's going on with China. The world is shrinking. The world is becoming one. So careers in international relations are pretty hot. And lastly, of course, business and commerce. Careers in business and commerce continue to be extremely hot. Of course, today, even in business and commerce, if you have proficiency in data analytics, business analytics, that will be helpful. So in some sense, there are absolutely great choices. I encourage students that while in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, do try to pick up English and math. Even in 11th, 12th, I would encourage all parents and all students, do pick up English. English, all of you do. There is no choice, whether you're in CBSE or ICSE. But I would strongly encourage that pick up maths also. Other than that, whatever subjects you pick up is pretty much your choice. And you will have great career options with whatever subjects you pick. You should pick up subjects that you are interested in, but do try to pick math and English. Do develop strong fundamentals in reading, writing, and analytical ability. As long as you can do that, you can gradually morph into any career. So that's my sort of fundamental advice for students studying in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. A lot of times parents come to me asking, what should my student be studying? What career should she go into? I believe 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th is still early to narrow down on a particular career. You can narrow down on broad spheres that I want a bio-based career, or I want a legal career, or I want a career in business and commerce, or I want a career in computer science, math, that sort of thing. I want a career in writing and communication. So I think taking a broad sort of judgment call is enough, but you don't have to take a call saying, look, I want to be in the insurance sector, or I want to go into sports management. That I feel you are getting too narrow. One doesn't have to become so narrow in class 10, 11, 12. Stay with broad career choices and pick up your subjects accordingly, English and math being constant, but pretty much pick anything else. Of course, if your child is not keen on math at all, then please don't insist that they should do. Then maybe they can pick up math basic, but let them pick any other subjects then. Economics, for example, if you are picking, you can't have a great career in economics today without math. So please do try to pick. I sometimes find students have picked economics but did not pick math. So that's another piece of advice. So moving on, then how do you select colleges? How do you start thinking about colleges? There are the traditional Indian universities like the Delhi University, University of Mumbai, Madras, Calcutta, and they have all their colleges. Since all of you are in Delhi, St. Stephen's, Shri Ram College of Commerce, Jesus and Mary, LSR, these are all great colleges. They normally offer a BA or BSc in a discipline, whether it's economics, history, physics, and if you have an interest, you can go there. There are, of course, the medical colleges. If you want to be a doctor, you have to take the NEET exam. There are 22 national law colleges. If you're interested in law, you have to write an exam called CLAT. And these law colleges are absolutely the top colleges in the country. If you're interested in engineering, you write the IIT JEE exam for 23 IITs. And this exam is also accepted for other NITs and other engineering colleges across India. Lots of colleges now coming up with BBA entrance exam. So if you want an undergrad in business, there is the Delhi University joint aptitude test. IIM Indore, IIM Rohtak, they have 5-year programs. There are separate tests. Indraprastha University has, Symbiosis has, Narsi Munji has. So those are sort of the, so you can see business, engineering, medical, law. Other than that, if you want a standard BA, BSc degree, you join a university. Now, what is also happening is a lot of new private universities are coming up in India. Ashoka University, which I had the honor and pleasure of founding, Plaksha, which I am involved in. These are all new age universities. And you will find that these, and many others, I put many others, Ahmedabad University, Bennett, Munjal, Flame, you will find that a lot of these universities are coming up with far more contemporary degrees, right? You have an option to mix and match. Plaksha University, for example, is coming up with a degree that combines economics and data science. I think that is the way forward. It is coming up with a degree that combines biosciences, engineering, and data science. That's the way forward. Ashoka has degrees in humanities, social sciences, but also allows you to mix and match degrees. These universities also allow that you can get into the university undecided, and you can make up your mind. After 1 year, you can choose what discipline you want to study, right? That's not the case in the Indian government university. So as you find, a lot of these new private universities are coming up. Some have already established a great reputation. Some are establishing themselves. But I believe all of them are far more contemporary in terms of curriculum. They are also, of course, a little bit more expensive, but there are great scholarship options. So look out for this space. And then, of course, you can also evaluate if you want to send your children abroad. In the next 10 minutes, I'll be talking about some of these options. The countries that most Indian students go to are US, Canada, Singapore, Ireland, Australia, Ireland/United Kingdom, right? Australia, New Zealand. These are predominantly the countries. Some students also go to Germany, France, Scandinavia. Some students are going to Korea, Japan, but few, because language is a big barrier. Students from India want to go to countries where the language of instruction is English. And these are pretty much, and really in that order. US is the prime destination, Canada, followed by United Kingdom, and then some of the other countries. Now, what are the advantages? And if you want to send your child abroad, again, I advise that 10th class is really the right time to start thinking. You can do it in 11th. You can do it in 12th also. But the earlier you start, the better it is, right? The advantages and disadvantages. Canada has tremendous flexibility, great job opportunities. Canada is also friendly in terms of permanent residency, PR. So you can settle in Canada. You can live and settle in Canada. Canada has about 40, total number of universities are 40, 8 to 10 are really great. University of British Columbia, University of Waterloo, and many other, University of Toronto, York University. So 8, 10 top-notch universities. Admissions are largely based on academics. United Kingdom, of course, all of you are aware, Oxford, Cambridge are the top universities, but equally whether it's Warwick, Bath, Sheffield, Edinburgh, there are many universities in the United Kingdom. Ireland is coming up as a great choice. We will talk about this. Language, some of the other countries have a language problem. Of course, in UK, you don't have that. Not many scholarships. UK universities don't give too many scholarships, and job opportunities are also limited. Now, after Brexit, UK is trying to go on a limb and they are opening up. So hopefully they will have more work visas. Till now, that was not the case. Singapore is a great country, by the way, very economical, close to India, very friendly on permanent residency. The challenge is they have only 3-4 good universities. It's a very small country, as some of you know. National University of Singapore, Nanyang Technology University, Singapore Management University, just about 3 big universities, which means capacity is very limited. And as a result, it's become extremely difficult to get into Singapore universities. They have started looking at marks of 97%, 98% in class 12. So they're becoming like Delhi University, very competitive, very tough to get in. Australia, New Zealand, again, friendly on PR, very good for vocational courses like hospitality, tourism. There are fairly large universities in Australia. 1 or 2 are absolutely at the top. And again, Australia is a country that some students can look at. The mecca for higher education continues to be the United States, despite everything we hear. And the reason for that is that the concentration of top level universities is the highest in the US. If you pick up the top 100 universities in any ranking, Times Higher Education, QS, 50 out of those 100 are in the US. Harvard, MIT, Yale, Stanford, Penn, top private universities, top public universities, Berkeley, UCLA, University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, UT Austin, Georgia Tech. Then even mid-end private, University of Rochester, Boston University are outstanding. And then a lot of mid-end public universities, Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin, Purdue. So great choices. US offers great choices, and everybody can get into a US university. Every student can get into a US university. If you have very high marks, you get into the highest level. But even if you have mediocre marks, you get into very decent options. So that's why I continue to believe that US is still a top destination for students, especially if your students are keen on science, technology, and business. No other country has as great options as the United States have. So please, if you are keen on studying, sending your children abroad, then US is one country which you should definitely look at. Ireland, I spoke of. Not many people know about Ireland, but Ireland is the only country in the Eurozone where English is the language of communication. France, Germany, Spain, Italy, all these other countries, they have their own language, especially in life sciences, biopharma, medical devices, IT, software engineering. Ireland is top notch. Top companies like IBM, Facebook, Google have their headquarters there. It has 8 of the world's top 10 IT companies, pharmaceutical, life sciences. And these are some of the universities: University College Dublin, Dublin City, National University of Ireland. These are some universities that students can look at. Most students we've sent to Ireland have got jobs. So it's a good country to look at. What do universities abroad look at? US universities especially look at tests called the SAT and ACT. They also want a test called TOEFL of English, test of English as a foreign language, or the IELTS. They also look at academic record of students across 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. And Kajal, to your question, why 9th, 10th? Because abroad, and even Indian private universities like Ashoka Plaksha, admissions are holistic. They are not based just on class 12 marks. They are looking at 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Extracurricular activities, again, across these 4 years. These universities want you to write some essays. They want letters of recommendations from your teachers, and they also interview in some cases. So this is the holistic admissions that I was talking of. And pretty much, if students are working from 9th, 10th onwards, they can build a good profile. This is a little bit ACT. SAT is conducted 5 times in a year. It's about a 4-hour exam. March, May, August, October, December. Scores are valid for 5 years. ACT is conducted 24 times in a year. February, April, June, September, October, December. Again, the scores are valid for 5 years. SAT has 2 sections. There is a verbal section, which is scored out of 800. It has a reading part and a writing and language part. Then there is a math section, which is also scored out of 800. And there are questions without calculator and questions with calculator. So total score on SAT is out of 1600. 800 on verbal, 800 on math. Then there is an essay section, which is graded out of 8. You get 50 minutes for the essay. So that's the SAT exam. You can write the exam in grade 11. You can write it in grade 10. You can write it in grade 12. You can write the exam multiple times, as many times as you want. Right? Similarly, ACT has 4 sections. There is an English section, reading section, math section, and science section. Each section is scored out of 36. And the total score also then comes out of 36. The essay section is graded out of 12. And as I mentioned, ACT can be taken 24 times. Again, you can take it in 10th, you can take it in 11th, you can take it multiple times. Most universities do not have a score cutoff. So a good question is, how much score do I need out of 1600 to get into a top university? Now, no university will tell you a cutoff, but you will find that top universities like a Harvard, Stanford, Yale, they are normally taking in students with 1500 plus. Then as you start, but you can equally find some student has got in with 1400, right? Because that student had very strong extracurricular activities or very strong, maybe was part of Olympiad or, had some great achievements. Then you'll find students, universities like Berkeley, etc. They are taking in students with 1450 to 1550 range. So the higher the university, the higher the score you need. That's the simple formula. But with 1300, 1350 plus, the US offers great options. That's the broad thing to remember. And score is not the only thing. Your academic grades also count, as I mentioned, across 9, 10th, 11th, 12th. 11th grades are actually very important. 11th grades for admissions abroad are more important than your class 12 grades, right? Poor academic grades can be compensated with high SAT scores, right? And you can also enhance your academic profile by writing AP tests. These are advanced placement tests. There are courses offered by top universities on Coursera, edX, online courses. Students can do these courses and enhance their profile. Extracurriculars, ECAs should have some breadth and depth. The quality of your extracurriculars and depth is sometimes more important. So it's not important you've done 6 things. Some students like music, some like drama, some like sport, some are in school leadership, some have worked for the environment club, some are working for community. Everything has equal importance. But the depth to which you have worked is more important. Your hobbies can count as extracurriculars, and find ways to showcase your extracurricular. It's not important just what you've done, but how have you showcased it. You can make a YouTube channel, you can write blogs, and all of this helps to showcase your activities in the right manner. And then when you apply, you need essays, you need recommendation letters, largely 3, and 1 you need from your school counselor. Universities in the United States offer a large number of scholarships. The top ones here, Harvard, MIT, Yale, of course, if you get in, you can get up to full scholarship. So up to 100% need-based aid. Others like Brown, Stanford, Johns Hopkins, they will offer a combination of need and merit. Cornell, Columbia, as I mentioned, are a little similar. They also offer a combination of need-based and merit-based scholarships. And equally, as you go down, there are lots of other universities which offer scholarships. So while I know education abroad is costly, it can cost anything between 10-15 lakhs a year to 50 lakhs a year. But if students work hard and score well, there is opportunity to get lots of scholarships. There are education loans available, which one can take. So I have seen that if parents and students are keen, irrespective of your financial background, you can send your children abroad, especially to the US. What's the ideal time? Somebody was asking me this question. I encourage students to start thinking in grades 9, 10. Start your SAT prep in 10th or early 11th. Write your SAT exam in 11th. Top universities also require subject tests, which I didn't speak of, but I can. If somebody has a question, you can write those in class 12. Start writing your applications in class 12. But equally, if you've not, this is an ideal timeline I'm saying, but if you've not written your test in 11th, you can write it in 12th. I know students who are currently in class 12 and they are writing their SATs right now, right? So you have a lot of time. This is an ideal timeline for somebody who's in grade 10 or grade 9, but people who are already in class 11, you are very comfortable. People who are in class 12, you still have time. Normally January 1 of class 12. So everybody who's in class 12, the January 1 that is coming up is the deadline by when you apply. Admissions come by March. So pretty much by the time you are writing your board exams, your decisions start coming. Then you apply for your visa in June, and then you can depart in August. So that's the way time. How Jamboree helps. We provide coaching for SAT, 60 hours of unparalleled concept-based training. We, of course, it includes comprehensive, well-researched study material, full-length tests. highly optimized vocabulary for ACT and SAT, customized study plans, personalized feedback, regular progress tracking, one-on-one doubt clearing, 1 year course validity. So we're there with you. The classes are for about 3 months, but we support you for a year. And we also provide university admissions counseling as a separate service. And in this service, we help you shortlist colleges. We help work with you on content. How do you write your SOPs, LORs, essays? We help you with documentation assistance, application assistance, interview training, and then visa. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to talk. I think I've taken a little bit more time. Our website is jamboreeindia.com. I've also put numbers of my colleagues, Arun Bhatia and Damanpreet, the numbers you can note if you would like. I'll keep this slide on for another 30 seconds. And I think that is pretty much it from my side. I would welcome any questions. So over to you, Kajal. Thank you.
Yes, yes, sir. Indeed, it was very informative. There are few questions from our parents' side. So somebody is asking, Neetu is asking, like, how can we get student loan? Do you also help with students loan?
Yes, we do help with student loans. So student loans are today in India being given by all nationalized banks, State Bank, Bank of Baroda, by private banks, HDFC, ICICI, and there are then specialized student loan companies, Credila, for example, and there are many others, and we do help you with student loans also. And once you get your admission, once you apply abroad and get your admission, then you can take your admission offer to any of these banks and you can get a loan. Banks normally do want some guarantee from parents, and in some cases, if the loan amount is very high, they would also want collateral. But loans of up to 20, 30, 40, 50 lakhs are today possible even without collateral.
So can we have the screen share undone so that we can see? Yeah, thank you. So we have few parents who've joined us. So if there's any questions, if they want to ask, the platform is open. And also we are live on our Facebook pages. Parents who have joined us from the streaming can put their questions in the comment section. We will be taking those questions as well. So if you have any queries, any concerns, you can just put them there and I'll address it. Thank you. Yeah. So can we have questions from the parents who've joined us?
One question which Pushpa Negis put up, Mr. Gupta, yeah. Which all universities in India consider SAT? So I can answer this in the meanwhile.
Yes, yes.
So Pushpaji, all these new universities that I spoke of, Ashoka, for example, accept SAT. Plaksha is accepting SAT. Ahmedabad University, a lot of these private universities that I put up. So if you go to the College Board website, and I'll just put up here, College Board. And
you can mention also, because the chat section is not visible to the other audience.
Okay,
so if you could mention, people can listen to it.
Yeah, College Board website, if you go to www.collegeboard.org, you will find a section where they mention which all Indian universities are accepting SAT, right? And we can also mail you to Dwarka Moms, we can mail the list of universities, but Vishali's already put it down. Ashoka University, Narsi Monji, Flame, Kriya, OP Jindal, Ahmedabad University, Shiv Nadar University, they all accept SAT, right? So that's the other advantage. If you are writing SAT in class 10, 11th, you not only can your children apply abroad, but it is also useful for you for a lot of Indian private universities.
Great. So there's another query on online. Manju is asking, my daughter is in class 10th. Next year, she wants to do interior designing abroad. Is this the right time? And she wants to change her board to IB. Soon CBSE right now. Okay, she wants to change to IB and she's into CBSE right now.
So I think, ma'am, there were two separate questions here. One, you are saying she wants to do interior designing. Now, my view is that, see, interior designing is something she wants to do as a profession. My advice to you would be, let her do an undergraduate degree, which is a little bit more broad-based. So she could do a undergraduate degree in design, for example, right? Or she could do an undergraduate degree in any of the social sciences or humanities, or she could do it in architecture, and then let her specialize in interior design. So keep your undergraduate degree a little broad and specialize at the master's level. That is my overall advice. However, some students may want to specialize at the undergraduate level, which is okay too, in which case she can go to any design school and then opt for interior design. So that's the advice. Now, from 10th class shifting to IB, I recommend parents that do it extremely carefully, right? IB as a curriculum is very different from CBSE. And I have seen it play out in different ways. Some students adapt to it very well and some students don't. If your child is doing very well in CBSE, please don't move them. That's the first piece of advice. If your children are doing well in CBSE or they are doing in ICSE, please continue. Don't move them. Even if you want to apply abroad, CBSE and ICSE work perfectly. It's not that you need to have your child in IB. So the shifts, please be very mindful. Don't be over eager to shift. The shifts sometimes don't work out well for children. You know, children are grappling, adjusting to a new school. They have to make new friends. They feel lost sometimes. So I'm not a big fan unless there is a solid reason. Unless, you feel they are not adjusting to the present school, they are not doing that well. Maybe they can do better in IB. So please handle these school shifts, or you are not happy with the existing school. Those are valid reasons. But if your child is doing well, she's already adjusted or he's already adjusted, please don't be over eager to change schools in class 11. Change boards. I mean, you can, within the same board, it's easier.
So Pratiksha is asking, what about kids who have cleared 12th standard? So Pratiksha, can you be a little more clearer? What are you trying to
Yeah, if you can ask your specific question, ma'am, after 12th, what's your...
After 12th, what are you actually wanting to say? Okay. Would you suggest students going for undergraduate degree or a master's or a specialization for going abroad?
Well, after 12th, you have to go into undergraduate. There is no... I think she's asking whether you advise students to go to abroad after class 12 or go for masters. Maybe that's the question, right?
I mean, they're such open-ended questions. So Pratiksha says it's medical. If somebody has cleared 12th, so what about kids who have cleared 12th in medical?
If your children have cleared 12th in medical, and you are looking to do medicine as a career, I'm presuming, then you can do it in India, of course, but you can also do abroad. My advice then would be to consider either United Kingdom or Australia, because in United States, in US, medicine you do at a master's level. So if you go to the US, you have to do a proper 4-year undergraduate degree in biology, and then you get admission into a master's program in medicine. But if you want to go to United Kingdom, Australia, you can directly get into a medicine career. There are lots of options. There are some special exams you have to write, but that's absolutely possible. And if your child has done bio and medical in class 12, they can look at some of these countries. I hope that was the question.
So let's see if we have more questions.
I think Pushpa is asking again, abroad universities, there would be good swimming teams. I mean, basically, she's looking for universities with swimming teams. Yeah, I mean, the US, every school will have a swimming team. Every university will have a top-notch swimming team. I mean, swimming as a discipline is extremely strong. And she can study computer science, physics, maths. She can get scholarships and she can do swimming. If Pushpaji, that was your question. But she should score well. Definitely, if she wants scholarship, she should try to score well in SAT. And ample scholarships are possible. Do well in studies in your 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, score well on SAT, and scholarship options are absolutely there. And we are happy to help her. If she likes, you can reach out to us. We can organize a special session. We can take on individual counseling. I think my colleague Amisha has already mentioned that we will offer a half an hour free counseling to any student from Dwarka Moms. If they want, you can reach out to our colleagues.
There are a few questions in the chat of Zoom as well, so we can take up those also. Okay, what Ashish is asking, what are the tests that need to be taken for the top Indian universities, and which are the universities where one can go straight after 12th standard?
So,
I've answered that on the chat.
So Vishali's already mentioned, the top Indian universities, for example, if you are looking at the IITs, then you have to write joint entrance test. Medical, you have to write NEET. Law, you have to write CLAT. If you are looking at top private Indian universities like Ashoka, Plaksha, each of them have their own test. Ashoka has the Ashoka test, but also they are willing to take SAT. Right? So you can write SAT, or you can write the specific exam of that particular university, like Ashoka or Plaksha or Ahmedabad or Narsi Munji. I would advise that write the SAT, because that way, the same test can work for any private Indian university. I hope, Ashish, that answers your question.
Yes. Great. So if we have more questions, let me just check online. Meanwhile, so that's it. We have no more questions to be asked here, to be addressed. So, yes. So it was really nice having everyone over here. And in fact, your presentation itself was so clear and crisp. I think many of the questions are already answered through your presentation, sir.
There's one question which cropped up from Amisha. Okay. How important is letter of recommendation? Now, letters of recommendation are important. So when you apply abroad, you have to take 2 normally from your teachers and 1 from your counselor. Make your letters of recommendations more experiential. So, so a teacher could say that Vineet is a bright student, but the teacher could also say Vineet scored so much in this subject and he is bright because of this. So narrate a lot of instances while getting letters of recommendations. If teachers can narrate instances and give examples, that makes for a better letter of recommendation. They are extremely helpful and add to the profile of students. So that's something that
how important. Okay.
So statements of purpose. So most universities, especially the top universities, Ivy League universities like a Harvard. Ivy League is this set of 8 universities in the US: Harvard, Columbia, Cornell, which are top-notch, Princeton, Yale, and they are the toughest to get in. And they are looking at, of course, high scores in tests, 1500 plus. They are looking at high marks, 90% plus, but they are also looking at a great extracurricular profile. Students should have done outstanding, whether in sports or music or drama or leadership, but also they would have written good statements of purpose, good letters of recommendation. So as I mentioned in the beginning, it's holistic admissions, and especially the top universities are looking at a holistic package of top academic grades, top scores, good extracurriculars, good letters of recommendations, good essays, and that in entirety builds a good application package.
Sir, I believe your daughter is with the prestigious Yale. So how did you go about it?
Well, I think, as I mentioned, encourage your children from 9, 10th onwards to have extracurricular activities, right? That's one. And you don't
What
have
kind of extracurricular activities really matter when you were,
and that's what I was about to say, Kajalji, that it doesn't matter which one. Tell them to pick what they are passionate about. So I can give the own example of my own daughters. The elder one was very fond of writing and she was very fond of playing basketball. So those are the two activities she excelled in. She used to write a lot, blogs, she wrote for the newspapers, etc. And she went on to become the captain of her basketball team. The younger one is fond of music and dance, right? So very different. She doesn't like to write much or play, but she plays the piano very well and she likes to dance. So I think the reason I'm giving this example is that whatever your child is good at, whatever he or she is truly passionate about, and sometimes what is a child good at, you discover if they try 2, 3 things, right? A child may not know unless the child tries. So make them try a lot of things, especially grades 8, 9, 10, let them try a number of things. And then they will suddenly realize, okay, I'm good at that. And the second thing that works in extracurriculars is try to find them good teachers. Again, I'm giving the example of my old child. My younger one used to learn piano and she was okay. And the moment we found her a great piano teacher, her piano level just shot up through the roof, right? So sometimes, great teachers have a way to inspire. So, a great music teacher, a great sports coach. Same thing happened with my elder one. She was an average basketball player, but till the time the coach sort of saw that she has potential and then she was inspired to, so finding the right teacher, that's what we can do as parents. Invest your time to look out what is my child liking, keep an eye out to see what is my child liking, and then make some effort, make some phone calls to find the best teacher. That's what we can do as parents. Ultimately, it's up to the child. So encourage them in extracurriculars, then encourage them in reading, encourage them to read a lot, read books, encourage them in mathematical thinking, and leave it up to them what subjects you want to do. At least I've never pushed any children, whether even children who come to Ashoka, and so many of them seek counseling, encourage them to pick any subjects they are passionate about, but develop strong extracurriculars, develop strong habit of reading. If the children read more, if they like to read, they will have a great career, I can tell you. They will absorb information, they will be well informed. If they can develop analytical ability and have some interest in math, I think rest you leave up to them and they will flourish and flower.
And what does the IVY League look at? I mean, what is the major, focus that they...
So strong academics, ma'am, they would want
Okay.
scores over 93, 94% in 10th, 11th. Okay. They will want high SAT scores, 1500 plus on SAT. Okay. They will want strong extracurricular and they will want good essays. So total package of these 4, 5 things.
And how does Jamuri, University prepares the children? I mean, what are the kind of efforts and what are the kind of programming?
Pretty much handhold children from class 10.
Okay.
Class 9, we have a program called the Dream College program. So if early, we can pick up children from 9, 10th and pretty much...
Does the team also sit with them, counsel them, exactly, and try to understand what are their interests?
Exactly. So right from 9th onwards, we will start talking to them. We will help them build a strong extracurricular profile. We will start coaching them on SAT. In 10th, there is an exam called PSAT. We can help them write PSAT. And then gradually we train them for SAT exam. So pretty much, in some sense, I think we take over the role of a parent. And with the parents and students, we work from grade 9, grade 10.
You all also put in efforts to judge whether the child is actually capable for doing that or is made for doing something else.
Absolutely. I have a fundamental belief that there is a right college and a good college for every child, right? And every child, there is no point, and it is not even correct that every child has to aspire to get into the same 6 universities. The best college for a child is where a child is able to flourish. Students ask me, where should I send my children, to which college? I tell them, look, the college is not very important. How does your child do in the college is more
Very
important,
true.
right? If your child goes to a top ranked college and does not do well in that college, there is no use. But if your child even goes to a mediocre college and does extremely well, your child will have a great career. So find the right college for your child. And I can assure you, I mean, I've been doing this for 25 years. There is a good college for every student. There is a good college for every student. Depending on the child's potential, depending on the child's interest, there is a good, you just need the right guidance uh, right through. And that's why I feel it's so important for children to start thinking early. They need the confidence, they need the self-assurance. And every child can get into the right college for him or her. I mean, and that's the way students and parents should look at colleges.
Very true. Pushpa is asking another question. My daughter is in class 11 PCM computers. She's confused with her subjects as what kind of stream she can have besides having swimming as her
So,
passion.
Pushpaji, as you send, we can counsel you. Vishali, my colleague, is on the call. Vishali is a trained career counselor. We are happy to, if you leave your number or you can send it through Kajalji, we will be happy to fix up a meeting with you, and we can guide you on your. We can have detailed career counseling for your child.
It was very insightful, and definitely we can benefit out of it. And for my daughter as well, in fact, we are looking out for counseling programs for her to guide her for her career options. So definitely we will get in touch.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely, Kajalji. We are pleasure to help.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you. My pleasure.
Really wonderful and very informative indeed. And we would request all our viewers to get in touch with the team directly. In the description, all the numbers, contact numbers, and the website links are mentioned. So please have a look and get in touch with the team directly.
Ali, you can also put your email ID, and I can put
Yes.
mine.
We have mentioned in the description of the post itself. So all the contact numbers and IDs are given there.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
I'll disconnect, ma'am, now.